same questions as I do because I really want to know what does the single cable life looks like. And today, I'd like to introduce two very important Intel speakers to you. First, let's welcome the Vice President in the Intel Client Computing Group, and he's also the GM of the Thunderbolt product line, Mr. Shahab Kiselston. And second is our Thunderbolt Marketing Director in Intel Client Computing Group, Mr. Jason Ziller. Now, let's welcome Mr. Shahab to give the welcome remarks to all of us.
I will try to go without the microphone. You guys can hear me in the back?
Yeah.
Okay? So I'm very excited to be here today disclosing Thunderbolt 3rd generation. Very happy to see a room full of people. And Thunderbolt has always been about leadership I/O technology, delivering more speed and more pixels was our thing since we introduced this technology 5 years ago. But the new perspectives that we bring today, we're very excited about it, is our decision to bring this technology behind this guy. Can anyone tell me what type of connector it is? Are you here? Yes. USB Type-C. Why is that a big deal for us? Because think about the implication of bringing Thunderbolt behind this connector. Okay? From a technical perspective, it means that we implemented a full USB controller inside our product. But from the end user perspective, it means that we truly deliver the vision of a single connector that does it all. Type-C that does it all. Why? Because with Thunderbolt behind Type-C, you can connect to any USB device, from the simplest mouse or keyboard that you have out there, all the way to the highest performing storage platform. You can connect to a high resolution video, 4K display, actually multiple 4K display. And last but not least, you can also use this cable as your power plug. Now the beauty of using Thunderbolt technology, you can do all three cases that I just described at the same time over a single cable. So that's why we believe this is a superset solution that truly enables a single cable solution between a PC and a docking station, expansion box, or whatever device you want to connect. This is the big deal with what we will be disclosing today. And I would like to invite Jason Ziller, our marketing director, to take you through the next 30 or 40 minutes in detail and slide describing the exact features and what we have inside. So, thank you.
Thanks, Shah. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming. So before I dive into the details of Thunderbolt 3, just wanted to give an update on Thunderbolt as we have it in the market today. It's been in the market for a few years, and the adoption has actually been quite nice. So I'll step us through that. First of all, on computers, we're actually going to reach a milestone by the end of this year, 100 million computers over the last few years shipping with Thunderbolt ports, Thunderbolt, Thunderbolt 2. Of course, Apple has it across all of their Mac product lines. We also have industry leaders, HP, Lenovo, Dell, ASUS, Gigabyte, and a few others that have been shipping it on their computers as well. So the leading OEMs around the world have been shipping Thunderbolt over the last few years. This is a visual of, as we see the Macs over here, all of the Mac line from the very smallest Mac Mini to MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, iMac, all the way up to the new Mac Pro. On the PC side, notebooks, desktops, workstations, HP ZBook, Lenovo ThinkPad, all of these different products have Thunderbolt, Dell XPS, motherboards from ASUS, Gigabyte, and others. So a wide variety of form factors shipping with Thunderbolt ports. And actually, we've seen about a 2x increase in the volume of PCs and motherboards with Thunderbolt over the last year. On the device side, also devices are quite plentiful. We have now over 250 certified devices. So we have a Thunderbolt certification program. And so we know how many products have been certified and shipped into the market. And you can see all of the leading device vendors around the world that have been shipping devices with Thunderbolt. LG, Seagate, WD, Belkin, Sony, Buffalo, many others. So a lot of different companies shipping Thunderbolt products. Also wanted to talk about some of the innovative devices, especially over the last year or so. There's been a few categories of devices that we're very excited about that are really innovative and bring new things to market and to users. On the top, we talk about displays, docks, and we have standalone docks here. So there's a variety of Thunderbolt 2 docks in the market today. Belkin is a leading brand, several others as well shipping. And the Thunderbolt 2 dock can bring a 4K display plus high performance storage and other I/O to these docks. Also, you can integrate that dock function into a display. And so LG is really a leader in this area. Apple also has a Thunderbolt display, but LG is also a leader in this area with about a half a dozen models that have Thunderbolt 2 dock display capabilities. So you can daisy chain Thunderbolt ports, Thunderbolt devices, as well as connect USB and other devices to it. They actually recently at NAB show announced a 4K display, the world's first 4K display with Thunderbolt 2. On the bottom part, we talk about storage, and on the left here, we talk about bus-powered storage. There's a lot of different kinds of storage devices on Thunderbolt today, all the way from the smallest mobile devices up to the biggest desktop devices. But some of the innovations recently are in bus-powered devices. You can see one from both Seagate and C and also WD. And because of the 12 watts today that Thunderbolt provides on the bus to a device, you can have higher speed and higher capacity bus-powered devices. So those are pretty exciting. And then on the right side here is a flash card reader hub. So it contains 4 cartridges where you can put in SD cards or CFast cards, and then you can download them very quickly, simultaneously into your computer. So that speeds up the action of taking, let's say you were out with your GoPro cameras and taking lots of video, and you have a bunch of SD cards, you want to download all the content very quickly, you can do it here 4 times faster than USB with Thunderbolt 2. So those are just some of the innovations and some of the new products that have come to market over the last year that we're really excited about. We'll actually be doing a lot more with PCIe SSD as we go forward. Thunderbolt, as you may know, has PCI Express, which goes straight into a PCIe SSD to be able to deliver the highest performance external storage device. We actually have a demonstration of an Intel SSD enclosed in an enclosure that can run 2,400 megabytes per second on Thunderbolt 3, which would be double the speed that we'll see on today's Thunderbolt 2. So before I get into Thunderbolt 3, I just wanted to look back in time a little bit into some of the history of some of the innovations in I/O. Intel has long been a leader in I/O technology innovation, and one of the key areas, of course, is improving performance, but also in simplifying it for consumers, right on computers. And so back in the late 90s, really one of the first efforts to do that was USB. Consolidated ports, simplified the usage of data ports, serial port, parallel port, USB port, other ports. Introduced plug and play, so you can make it very easy to connect devices, really transform the way that we connect up devices. Then, USB went through multiple versions to increase the speed over time. And then the next innovation that we had from Intel was in 2011, the original Thunderbolt came out. And this was the fastest connection to your PC at 10 gigabits per second, but also introduced being able to do data and video on the same cable. So you can connect up to data devices and display devices on the same cable. And that really redefined how you can expand and be able to connect to a variety of different devices, both high-resolution displays, high-performance storage, and other kinds of devices. And then the next innovation that recently is really just coming out is the USB-C connector, as we talked about. So we're pretty excited about the USB-C connector as well. This, you were taking some pictures before, is an example of it. It's very, the connector is very thin, small and thin, so it can fit in the latest form factor devices. It is reversible, so you can plug it in either way. You don't have to worry about it. You can also plug it in either way, this way, to the host or device, doesn't matter. It's symmetrical that way. It's fast, so it was designed to run fast, including speeds that Thunderbolt requires. We'll talk about that. As Shahab mentioned, it supports charging up to 100 watts of power, and you can negotiate power on it up to 100 watts in either direction. And then lastly, and important to Thunderbolt, is it supports what we call alternate modes, which means you can run additional I/O technologies over the same cable alongside USB. And that's what we've done with Thunderbolt 3. So we say, what's next? And Thunderbolt 3 is what we've done. This brings Thunderbolt to the USB-C connector. Now, the code name for this is Alpine Ridge. Some of you may have heard or seen that before. So that's the Intel solution for Thunderbolt 3. So as I mentioned, Thunderbolt 3 brings Thunderbolt to USB-C and a whole lot more. It really, as we said, is a USB-C that does it all. It really fulfills the promise of the USB-C connector. That connector has a lot of potential, a lot of flexibility. Thunderbolt 3 really fulfills that promise and delivers all you need to connect to any device or display or anything. So we'll talk about, there's really 4 vectors of value that Thunderbolt 3 brings to this. More protocols, speed, pixels, and power. And I'll talk about each one of those one by one. More protocols. So you can see that you have USB. In the case of Thunderbolt 3, you have USB 3.1, 10 gigabits per second, fastest USB. You have Thunderbolt, 40 gigabit Thunderbolt, fastest Thunderbolt version. You have DisplayPort, 1.2. These are all native protocols that can connect up to a computer with the Thunderbolt 3 port. And then, of course, PCI Express and DisplayPort you get within Thunderbolt as your data and display protocols within the Thunderbolt packet. So putting these all together on a single connector, you're able to connect literally to any dock, display, or device. You can connect to Thunderbolt devices, of course, and we'll talk later about even adapting to existing Thunderbolt devices. You can connect to every display either natively with DisplayPort or through an adapter to HDMI, DVI, VGA, and of course, docking stations that would use Thunderbolt. So, and that includes billions of USB devices as well. So all of the USB devices that were ever made can connect into this port, and of course, being the 10 gigabits per second, even the newest USB 3.1 devices can plug in and work on this port. Now, so what that means is, for an end user, anything with a Type-C connector can plug in and it just works. It's going to work. Now, you can't always say that with any Type-C connector. If it's maybe just USB, some of these devices won't be able to work when plugged in. So we think that having a superset capability, we really deliver the best Type-C. Anything will plug in and just work. Talk a little bit more about the USB 3.1 controller that's in the Alpine Ridge chip. This is a 10 gigabit per second controller, the fastest controller. And in fact, it's really going to be among, when it goes to market, among the industry's first to market as a 10 gigabit USB 3.1 controller. So we're very excited about that. And again, it can connect to any USB device ever made. So the second vector, more speed. as we talked about, you have 40 gigabits per second Thunderbolt link. On there, you can run data display with PCI Express Gen 3. So this is the first time that Thunderbolt is supporting Gen 3 instead of Gen 2 PCI Express, so it doubles the performance there. And also DisplayPort. And the DisplayPort is double video bandwidth of the previous generation. So you have double the speed, double the data bandwidth, double the video bandwidth of the previous generation of Thunderbolt, and 4 times the data and twice the video bandwidth of any other cable. So again, if you have a single DisplayPort cable, for example, you only get 1 stream of DisplayPort. If you have a Thunderbolt 3 cable, you can get up to 2 streams of DisplayPort, so double that bandwidth. Being able to connect to 2 4K displays from a single cable. In fact, we have a demonstration back there, which you can see after we're done, that has a dongle connecting into 1 port and then connecting out to 2 4K displays. So we're very excited about that capability. The other thing is with this kind of speed, what does that mean to an end user? You can transfer a 4K movie in less than 30 seconds. Now, for those of you who've been following Thunderbolt, maybe you've heard us say in the original Thunderbolt, you said you could transfer an HD movie in less than 30 seconds. Now this is 4 times faster, so 4K is 4 times more data than HD, so now you can do a 4K movie in less than 30 seconds. Another example, maybe with the GoPro video, because we talked about the SD cards, you can transfer 3 hours of GoPro video, 4K GoPro video, in less than a minute. So just some examples of what this really will mean to end users. The third vector is more pixels. So in this case, as I mentioned, 2 4K displays. You have large displays with amazing detail. You have twice the video bandwidth of any other cable. So you have 2 streams of DisplayPort. That's 8 lanes of DisplayPort, for those of you who are familiar with DisplayPort 1.2, 4 lanes per stream, to be able to do two full 4K, 60 hertz, 60 frames per second displays that you can connect to. Or you can have a single cable to plug into a 5K 60 hertz display, which if you've seen a 5K display today requires now 2 DP cables, and you can do it with 1 Thunderbolt 3 cable. So it's really, again, the only computer port that can connect 2 4K displays to 1 5K display with a single cable. And the fourth vector is more power. As we mentioned, you can have up to 100 watts of power in either direction. So what we think are the most compelling uses of what to do with all that power is, number one, being able to charge a notebook from a dock or a display. You just plug in a single cable at your notebook and then you charge a notebook. And then also going out of the notebook or computer to a bus power device, you have 15 watts to bus power devices. And this is an increase, a little bit of an increase over Thunderbolt 2 from 12 watts to 15 watts. So now actually our device vendors are even more excited about being able to do even faster performing storage, higher capacity, portable displays, high performance adapters like 10 gig adapters. There's a lot of interest in doing a lot of different kinds of bus power devices like that. By the way, this power is based on the USB power delivery spec. So it's not anything unique. It's based on the industry standard USB PD spec. So everything I talked about and all the protocols that you get are on a computer port that I was referencing there. So let's talk for a minute about device configurations. You can see here an example of some devices daisy chaining on Thunderbolt port, Thunderbolt 3 port. If you're familiar with Thunderbolt from 4, it daisy chains up to 6 devices. Thunderbolt 3 is no exception. You can daisy chain up to 6 devices. But another unique thing about Thunderbolt 3 is that the second port, if you have a 2-port device, you can plug one into the host. You have another one that you can plug in something else into. That second port has all of the capability of the host. It has USB, Thunderbolt, and DisplayPort. So you can plug in USB devices into that port, and they'll work with that computer. So it's very exciting, very powerful technology to not only be able to connect Thunderbolt devices to that port, but also USB or DisplayPort at the same time. So what can you do with all that capability, right? So we say more possibilities. We think that there's some very exciting usages that are really just emerging now that Thunderbolt 3 can really enhance and bring to the end users. So there's a lot of different things we can talk about, but we want to focus on 4 areas, and we also have some demonstrations around the room that you can take a look at afterwards. The first one is 4K video, single cable docking, external graphics, and Thunderbolt networking. So we'll talk about each one of those. 4K video is becoming more and more popular, becoming more and more mainstream. 4K TVs and displays are under $9.99 now, in some cases, $500. And that's just continuing to ramp. The sales are ramping very quickly. 4K content is becoming more prevalent. GoPro has 4K cameras for consumers. So it's not just a high-end professional studio capability anymore. Consumers are using 4K video and creating their own content. So it's really starting to expand. So what does that mean? The challenge that it brings is that it's a lot more data and a lot more bits than before. And so one example is that 2 4K displays has nearly 16 million more pixels than an HD TV. So now, if you want to move that data, all of those pixel data bits, you're going to need a very big pipe for that. Second example is moving, is the like file or the content. HD to 4K is a huge jump, significantly a bigger increase than, let's say, SD to HD was. So 4K is 4 times the amount of bits than HD. So that's the big challenge there. And that's really why, if you're doing anything with 4K video, you really need Thunderbolt. You need Thunderbolt 2. A lot of people are using Thunderbolt 2 today for that. You're going to need Thunderbolt 3 as you go forward. And so the exciting thing here is with Thunderbolt 3, you can create, edit, display, archive 4K video simultaneously on the same cable. You can have your displays, your archive storage, your computer, everything all connected on a single cable line to be able to do that with 4K video. So again, that's really the only port that you're able to do that with on a single cable. The second usage is single cable docking. So we're very excited about this, and I know most of you probably just came from Kurt's keynote and heard about no wires docking, wireless docking. Intel supports both capabilities.
Good job.
Single cable docking is 1 cable away from no wires, but it's actually very exciting because you can do everything you need with a single cable. You can connect to all of the displays and devices that you need. You can also, at the same time, be able to quick charge your notebook battery. So again, very exciting to be out on the road with your notebook, come back with a single cable you plug in, be able to get everything on your desktop while you're charging your notebook very quickly. So we think this is actually a very exciting usage area, particularly in the business space where docking is more prevalent. But we also think that even in the consumer space, cable docking is simpler and easy, and we think that's also going to become more prevalent. This just shows some examples of maybe a user configuration and how much bandwidth you're using, or how much they need to do certain things. So you can start with kind of a mainstream example here. We have a QHD display, which is kind of a mainstream display today. USB 3.0 5 gigabits per second, an Ethernet connection maybe. Even here, you're exceeding the USB limits and getting up near 15 gigabits per second. The middle one is maybe you move up to a 4K display, have USB 3.1, 10 gigabits per second, and Ethernet. Now you're already up and above the 25 gigabit realm. And then if you're really doing some meaty, some rich media projects, productivity, content creation, things like that, two 4K displays, you can see you very quickly get above, you get to 40 gigabits per second and beyond if you want. So we see that really when you're using multiple devices and data and display together, you very quickly need all this bandwidth and more. The third area is external graphics. So some of you may have seen or heard discussion about external graphics before over Thunderbolt. What this is taking a discrete graphics card or controller, putting it in an external box running over Thunderbolt to be able to enhance your graphics externally on an external monitor or actually in the notebook monitor as well. We think that a big application in the consumer space for this is gaming. Gamers really love this. There's kind of two flavors you can do here. One is the mobile graphics where, let's say it's paired with a notebook that maybe does not have discrete graphics. And so now you have outside the box, you have a dock that has mobile graphics as well as some I/O ports. I'll show an example here in a second of that scenario. Second would be if maybe you have a gaming laptop where you have discrete graphics in it, mobile discrete graphics. But now you can put a very high-end desktop quality, 200, 300 watt card, if you like, externally, plug it in a chassis, and then be able to connect it and get a desktop enthusiast level gaming experience. So we think this is an exciting new area to be able to work with Thunderbolt 3. We're actually working with AMD's graphics group on a driver that supports hot plug. So one of the key elements of this is just like any Thunderbolt device, to be able to hot plug, surprise and move the cable. And so we're working with them on a driver that will do that for Windows 10. So I'll just kind of walk through this demo. I know you can't see it too well. Some of you were up here before, but I'll just explain what it is. You can come up later and take a look at it. And by the way, all of these demos here are based on very early prototype silicon, now hybrid silicon. So they're really demonstrating, basic functionality of these usage models. They're sensitive, so please don't touch them. They'll get better soon. This is a notebook, as you can see, without origin in a single Thunderbolt 3 connector here, Type-C connector, connected with a single cable to this dock here. This is a graphics dock. It has an AMD graphics, mobile graphics controller inside. It also has some I/O ports. This is demonstrating the single cable docking solution. So the first thing that it does, I lost my indicator here, but this is fully charged notebook. There are no wires, there are no adapters, power adapters back here. It's being charged from this guy only, from the dock. The second thing is you have a USB storage device here connected up on the USB port. And then we have two video cables coming out that are connected to these two 4K displays, playing a video, playing a photo slideshow. So all of this is working with even early prototype silicon with Alpine Ridge. And that will just get better over time as we work toward production. The other thing I'll point out is an example of just a regular docking station without a graphics controller. Sorry, guys. So this one is an example. It's actually very similar to Thunderbolt 2 docks that are in the market today for maybe $199 US. And you can see it has two Thunderbolt ports. It contains a chain Thunderbolt 3. It has a DisplayPort port, a few USB ports, Ethernet, and audio. And this will be in the market for probably for the same price, $199, kind of price point. All right, so the fourth area is Thunderbolt networking. So the Thunderbolt software driver emulates Ethernet, basically, over Thunderbolt. And so what we have is we're essentially, especially to the operating systems, we're running Ethernet on Thunderbolt speeds. So we call it 10 gigabit Ethernet for free. If you have Thunderbolt in your computers and you have a Thunderbolt cable, you can do Ethernet networking essentially at very high speed. So you can do peer-to-peer connection between two computers and do quick file transfers. You can do fast PC migrations. You can actually create a small work group of a few computers together, working together with shared storage. I was actually recently, or even shown here at the Computex QNAP, has a NAS with the Thunderbolt 2. And so you'd be able to share, share storage or direct-attach storage on this network. The other thing to point out is that the software driver, we've actually created the driver to work with both Windows, Linux, and the Mac. So you can have a cross-platform environment where you're connecting up computers with all the different operating systems. Okay, let me talk about cables for a minute. There's a few cable options for Thunderbolt 3. The first one is what we call a passive cable. So again, for those of you who've been following Thunderbolt for a while, one of the challenges that Thunderbolt's had is the cable being an active cable is a little more expensive than maybe some people would like. And so we've addressed that with Thunderbolt 3. We have a cable option that's a passive 20 gigabit per second cable that's actually based on the standard USB-C cable. So it's going to be high volume, it's going to be lower cost, and for a lot of devices, 20 gigabits per second would be sufficient, so people can use this cable. And that'll be in lengths up to 2 meters. The cable supports 20 gigabit Thunderbolt, USB as well. You can plug in a USB device or DisplayPort. The second option is cable, which takes you all the way to the full 40 gigabit per second bandwidth. And so just like we have with Thunderbolt today, you need an active cable there, which will be a little bit more, probably a similar cost to the Thunderbolt cables today. So if you're doing a very rich docking environment or 4K workflow, you probably want to use the active 40 gig cables. And again, those will be in lengths up to 2 meters. And then also, as there are optical cables in the market today with Thunderbolt 2, we'll be working on optical cables for Thunderbolt 3. These are under development. They're going to take a little bit of time, but we expect to see those out in sometime in 2016. And those will go up to 60 meters as it do today with Thunderbolt 2. We're also working on an adapter to provide Thunderbolt compatibility. And this is really backward and forward compatibility with Thunderbolt 2. So this adapter can either plug into a new Thunderbolt 3 host, and then on the other end have an existing Thunderbolt 2 device, or the other way around, you can plug it into a Thunderbolt 2 host, and then plug it into a new Thunderbolt 3 device. So this will be in the market later on as well. And the last thing that I want to talk about is how to identify Thunderbolt 3. Because by the way, we said the Type-C port is a very flexible port. There's going to be various versions in the market that already are. USB 2, USB 3, USB 3.1, etc. So I want to make sure that users can identify Thunderbolt 3. So first of all, we have the name Thunderbolt 3, the next generation, very simple. We'll use the same logo graphic as we have today with Thunderbolt, and also the same connector icon. So users will look for that Thunderbolt icon if they're looking on a device or a cable to make sure that they have a certified Thunderbolt 3 product or cable. And so we're working with the industry to make sure those are identifiable, people know what they're using. So again, we'll continue the Thunderbolt certification program to make sure that these products all work together. So in summary, as we said, Thunderbolt 3 is 40 gigabit per second Thunderbolt, USB 3.1, 10 gigabits per second, and DisplayPort 1.2, all behind the USB-C connector. For the first time, one computer port can connect to any device, Thunderbolt devices, billions of USB devices, every display that's out there, at least an adapter. Provides 4 times the data bandwidth and twice the video bandwidth of any other cable, and also supplies power. You can use it for all these new exciting uses that are coming out. It's going to be unrivaled in those areas in terms of being able to connect a single cable to 4K video, single cable docking, external graphics, and built-in Ethernet networking. And the last point is, Kurt talked about some of the products that are going to be coming out soon. We're expecting initial products with Thunderbolt 3 to start shipping before the end of this year and ramping into 2016. So we're very excited about the future there. And at this point, I'll take some questions. All right.
Yeah, I just want to check something that seems to be missing off one of the slides first. On your more cable options, your active 3 gig copper cable doesn't include DisplayPort. It's just missing it.
Actually, it doesn't need to because you use the cheaper cable. So we just encourage people, or if they're shipping a DisplayPort display with a Type-C connector, they just ship it with the cheaper cable. So.
The other question I had, I mean, yeah, great increase in specs. I do a lot of writing about the video production industry. That's been very good to you, hasn't it? But I still think this is a product that seems mainly for now, maybe rather than Computex. I mean, how do you, even this idea that people may well want to run to 4K monitors outside that kind of content generation area, I find it a little bit hard to get your head around. I can see what's a great product for them. Can you explain to me how you get out that ghetto?
Well, we don't consider it a ghetto, but
well, no, it's
a very nice ghetto. Well, so you could say that needing 2 4K displays, maybe still in that video creation area, production area. But we think that using one 4K display and doing some things with 4K content, as I mentioned, is becoming really more and more popular, more and more mainstream. The prices of the displays and TVs are down well below $9.99. The content vehicles like the GoPro cameras and other 4K cameras, I think Sony and Canon and others are shipping consumer-grade 4K cameras now. So we're seeing a lot more use of 4K. So I think that people will want to use it just for any really 4K work that they might be doing, even at a consumer level. And then the other couple of things that we talked about is the single cable docking. So we're seeing, in fact, there's even a move already. Let's say the Lenovo OneLink connector is a single cable connector to be able to not have a big docking connector, in the corporate docks, to be able to make the notebooks thinner and lighter. So we see a big move in the direction of using cable docks, and this provides the best docking solution that you can get. So I think we'll see a lot of activity in that area. And then in the consumer space, we think that the external graphics, there's a lot of excitement about that. So, we'll see how that expands, but we think that's going to be an interesting area for gamers, right? And of course, Kirk talked about it in his keynote, the 1.2 billion gamers and all of the activity going on that's actually blowing our minds, like the extreme masters, all these people doing the games. So we think that there's going to be a lot of interest in the external graphics for that. Yeah.
Du Shen from Kingbucks. I have 2 questions. The first one is very dumb, but I need you to explain it to our readers. Does the current generation 12-inch MacBook support Thunderbolt 3?
Does the current generation MacBook support Thunderbolt 3? No, it does not. Okay.
So the question number 2 is Thunderbolt 3 in the form of USB Type-C has a significant decrease in thickness than the previous generation. So are we going to see future adoption of Thunderbolt 3 in mobile, or are you very focused on desktop right now?
Well, when you say mobile, do you mean tablets and phones, yes, or notebooks? So I think initially you'll see notebooks and desktops, but also 2-in-1s. I think that it's capable to get into some of the premium tablets. So I think at least initially we'll see it in those areas. I think over time we'll probably see it scale to some additional areas. Sorry.
Sam Cho with IDG News. Just want to be absolutely sure. With the laptops, there'll be Thunderbolt ports, or will the Thunderbolt ports be USB 3.1 ports, or could you just clarify that a little bit?
Yeah, so that's what I was saying on the last slide about the branding. These will be Thunderbolt 3 ports that are running on a USB-C connector. But we want them to be identifiable as Thunderbolt 3 so that the users understand that this has a superset capability. It's not, just USB running there. So we'll see these as Thunderbolt 3 ports. We'll see these as Thunderbolt 3 cables. Yes.
So if I have a Thunderbolt 3 cable and I try to plug it into a USB 3.1 port, which is Type-C, what's the result going to be?
You have a Thunderbolt 3 cable plugged into a USB Type-C port. It will work. The Thunderbolt 3 cables also support USB and DisplayPort.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned also Thunderbolt here, so USB-C. This means so you use alt mode, so instead of DisplayPort.
Yes, it uses an alternate mode. So DisplayPort, the Visa group came out with an alternate mode spec for DisplayPort. There's others. We did the same thing with Thunderbolt. We have an alternate mode spec that allows Thunderbolt to run on USB-C.
Okay. And the question is unveiled. Previous generation used also not only master slave chip but also master slave chip. So at this generation you only have a master slave chip.
The Alpine Ridge chip works in both host mode and also device mode. So you configure it to work in host or device side.
You don't have a device only mode. Device only chip.
It's right now it's one chip that works in either host mode or device mode.
On the other side, how many PCI Express resources are you taking? Is that by 3 or by 4? Or I'm sorry, PCI Express 3.0?
It's a PCI Express Gen 3 by 4 lanes.
Now, you showed dual connectors on it. Is it possible to run both connectors at full speed with PCI Express 3.0 by 4?
You mean 2 connectors on a host computer?
Yes.
So if you're running the 2 connectors off of a single Alpine chip that supports 2 ports, the maximum bandwidth between the 2 of them is the PCIe by 4. That would be shared between the 2 ports. Sorry.
Hey, so I'd like to know what this announcement means for Intel's support of USB 3.1 in general. Is it something that you're going to be supporting at the system level built into processors, or is this going to be a thing where if you want to support regular 3.1 without Thunderbolt, you're going to need some control?
So I can't comment on future products or integration or anything. I can say that Alpine Ridge has the USB 3.1 controller, so Intel will be supporting a discrete controller of USB 3.1. But anything beyond that, I can't comment on right now. So.
And just a specific question, like if you're using legacy control for that, I guess if let's say you have something that you map it already has Type-C, how is that going to work with
Well, the MacBook supports USB and DisplayPort.
Yeah.
So a Thunderbolt device would not plug into that and work because it doesn't support Thunderbolt 3. So if you have no, it doesn't support Thunderbolt at all. So you need a Thunderbolt 3 computer port in order to plug in a Thunderbolt device to have it work. Sorry.
Simon Sharp with the Register. What applications do you envisage people are going to use a 60-metre optical cable for?
In the content creation industry, there's actually demand for that. Basically, I think a couple of examples are if you have workstations, people working in one area, you want to put, you actually want to put the workstations in another area. So you have the people working in one area with the displays and keyboard, mouse, and storage, and then they have the workstations in another area. So they use a long cable to connect the workstation to all the devices that the users are working with. So that's one example. I think another is in the field, if they're using cameras or other video devices that they need, long cables to kind of separate the people from the video shoot or something. So those are some examples. It's not very prevalent, but those are some examples. Yes?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I need a monitor.
Yeah. Like, this is fantastic, I think, as a user kind of question. I think one of the issues with Thunderbolt has been both the size and cost of manufacturers choosing a Thunderbolt controller. So, like, in this instance where it is now a superset controller, can you sort of point to or outline in a basic sense what is the size and kind of cost difference for a manufacturer to actually say, okay, yeah, we'll commit to Thunderbolt 3 as our new controller in these single port ideas that USB-C is sort of getting adopted according to certain specs. But does it still cost a lot more, or does the size inside a device actually take up more space?
So we think the cost of the solution is is enough to be able to have broader adoption. So we do expect to see broader adoption, especially in the PC space. It can be brought down more into more systems in the PC space. And then with the passive cable, I think again that was another area that we maybe limited a little bit for more mainstream consumers. So the passive cable gives that opportunity to be able to also expand to new areas. So we do expect to see broader adoption in Thunderbolt 3.
Could you give me more detail about your comparing so in reach? So in what kind of port? So in electrically, so in PCI, 5A, so USB 3.1 controller. How many 3.1 controller? How many Thunderbolt controller?
I'll give a quick summary and then we can talk later. But basically, it can support up to 1 or 2 ports of Thunderbolt 3. And so you have PCI Express by 4 lanes, as I mentioned, Gen 3 by 4 lanes. You have 2 DisplayPort streams. You have a USB 3.1 controller with 2 ports. So you can have USB off both ports. And you have same with Thunderbolt controller, the 40 gigabit Thunderbolt controller. So you can connect Thunderbolt devices to both ports at the same time as well. Sorry, I'll come back to you. Yes?
Can you show me the power consumption of the algorithm in working station?
I'm sorry, say.
How was the power consumption of the algorithm chips?
What's the power consumption of the average chip? We're not really giving out chip details today because we haven't really officially announced the chip itself. We're just really talking about the technology. So I think as we launch the actual solution, we can give more details on some of the specs.
Okay.
What is the difference between like the cable and
well, you can use USB. You can plug in USB devices with the passive cable. You can plug in Thunderbolt devices with the passive cable. And like I said, a lot of Thunderbolt devices probably don't need more than 20 gigabits per second, so they'll work fine with the passive cable. I think only when you're doing, like, you're having many devices connected, maybe 4K display, then you need the 40 gig cable. I think in many instances, the 20 gig cable will work either for Thunderbolt or USB or DisplayPort.
So you mean like, is it something like this cable is the building for the whole thing?
Yes. Yeah, the 40 gigabit cable is an active cable for Thunderbolt 3. Yes.
Very quick on one year, this is like having a silicon.
The silicon middle?
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, we expect initial products shipping before the end of the year.
No product shipping is 60.
Products, end products.
Hi guys, Ethan, I have 2 questions, please. First, what's your plan to announce compliant test spec with USB? And second question, do you think in the future the Thunderbolt and USB 3.0 maybe X will be merged by one standard? Thank you.
So your first question, you asked when we're going to have a compliance spec for USB. So the USB implementer forum, the USB group does the compliance for that. So we don't do that. So I'm not sure the specific answer to that. We'd have to talk to the USB group. For the USB certification? We will be doing certification on Thunderbolt devices that are using the alternate mode for Thunderbolt, but not for USB. USB is from the USB. And then your second question, I don't have an answer. I'm not sure what will happen in the future, but we'll see.
So let's take the last question.
One more question?
No, then we will conclude it. Oh.
Yeah, if massive cable only supports 28%, 20 gigabit, will it be possible to hook up a monitor at 60 Hz to a docking station along with peripherals?
So Thunderbolt 2 today is 20 gigabits per second. You can hook up one 4K display, you can hook up some other peripherals. The display always gets priority on the bandwidth. So, but whatever's left over, you can run storage or other peripherals. So we really operate pretty much the same way here, kind of, at the same speed level, the same way. All right, well, thank you very much. And like I say, you can check out the demos one more time if you like. Thank you.